Here, joining us now, Nebraska Congressman Mike Flood. Representative, it's great to speak with you. I do want to start on that skinny budget, including over 20% cuts to domestic spending. How are you thinking about your own budget needs and how these cuts to funding could impact both your own policies and your constituents?
Well, I tell you what, we're $36 trillion in debt, on our way to $37 trillion in debt, and this is a national security issue. So we do have to cut spending. I think as a Republican conference, we have been talking about this for the last 5 years. And what do we need to do? How are we going to get there? This reconciliation package is merely the first step. I think you're going to see in our budget that we deliver later this year, you're going to see continued reductions in spending. And ultimately, if we grow the economy by passing the tax cuts and we slow and reduce spending on the other side, that's the only way that we bend the arc on what is a national security issue, our $36 trillion debt.
You mentioned concerns about the deficit, and of course the Trump administration has touted the idea that tariffs could be a way to start to tackle that deficit. But the administration has also said that there are going to be deals made so that the tariffs are not as severe and have as severe of an impact on companies. So which one is it? Are tariffs a measure meant to help tackle the deficit, or are we going to see deals that don't make them as significant of a revenue driver?
Well, look at what happened in the first Trump administration. President Trump cut deals with Canada, Mexico, China. Pair that with the tax cuts that were delivered in 2017, and America saw seismic growth, obviously interrupted with the spending that occurred over the COVID virus. We have the same opportunity to do that here. I'm actually confident that President Trump is going to do the same thing he did in the first administration, and we're going to have fair trade, free trade with a lot of countries around the world that will return benefits to Nebraska farmers and ranchers, to folks in Pennsylvania, to businesses in California. At the end of the day, I don't think tariffs are going to pay the bills. I think a continued economic growth in the United States with low taxes is the right recipe to get us back on the right track.
Well, Representative, since you mentioned your own constituents, I want to talk about some of the feedback that you've been getting from them at the likes of town halls. You're obviously historically a popular politician, but the feedback has gotten loud and negative off the back of some of these policies from the administration. To what extent are you willing to push back on any measures from this administration to cut things like Medicare, like Medicaid, that your constituents have voiced concerns about?
Well, I think obviously we have to find the right balance on an issue like Medicaid. I've always believed that we need Medicaid for the vulnerable, for those that are not able-bodied, for the mentally ill or the developmentally disabled. All of those things are very important. But I do think that Medicaid isn't a one-size-fits-all for each state. In Nebraska, we have 3% unemployment. I'm not one bit worried about workforce requirements or verifying that they're out looking for work. I'm also very open-minded on some of the other changes they want to make. I don't like the idea of taking SNAP money away from the states. That would be an $85 million on top of burden to the state taxpayers here in Nebraska. So it's a delicate balance. And I'll tell you what, I may be one of the only representatives to hold town halls, but I find a lot of value in them, and there's no doubt that at times our country's divided. Everybody should have the right to come and talk to their member of Congress and share what they believe the future of the country is, and I see that as part of my job, and that's why I hold those town halls.
And talk to me about this weekend. You're obviously heading to the Berkshire weekend here. What are you anticipating to hear from Warren Buffett when it comes to trade policy?
Well, Warren Buffett is a Nebraska treasure, University of Nebraska graduate. He's built a wonderful business here. I think Warren always tells it like he sees it. There's times I agree with everything he says, and there's times I don't. But here in Nebraska, we are, I flew back from Washington yesterday. The plane was packed. The young man next to me was from India, and he was reading a book on Warren Buffett, and he was watching videos. And I just thought to myself, how fortunate are we in Nebraska to have one of our own be one of the most successful business people in the history of the world. And his favorite place to live is Omaha. He lives in a modest house, and he reminds everybody that hard work and a little bit of opportunity can take anybody anywhere in our great country.
Congressman, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
You too.